Hello, I'm Amanda Cook, and in this video I'll be giving my reflection on the body rituals of the Nosarima by Horace Minor. When I first started to read the body rituals among the Nosarima, I thought it was a native culture that had yet been discovered by anthropologists. I have a very vivid imagination, so as I'm reading, I can imagine each scenario in my mind, such as the medicine man. Connection with American culture would be the doctor who was writing up a prescription that could only be read by an herbalist, also known as a pharmacist, that you would take to the pharmacy to get your medication for whatever is alienating your body. Also, the holy mouth man I could see as a dentist and going in and filling your cavities with any type of mercury filling or deep cleaning your teeth, or going in and sewing up anything, bone fragments that need to be put in place. That all reminded me of our American dentistry. And then as I continued to read, I found scenarios which connected the American culture, such as the one where women who are with breasts that are large, while some to be made smaller, while some are smaller to be made large. This reminded me of American plastic surgery. As an American woman, there has been much emphasis on having the perfect body and making sure that our faces are symmetrical. We have full lips, we have the perfect eyebrows, perfect eyelashes, and women all of us, go to deep lengths to be portrayed as society's version of beautiful. And I could see this as in this is secular society having become valuable by our reflection of being perfect, the value of society puts on women in a secular way of having to have these unrealistic beauty expectations. As not every woman looks the same, neither should we try to achieve to look exactly like each other through plastic surgery. Throughout the years, women have become more and more obsessed with our body images. That this is not a new concept. You can see in the Victorian ages where corsets were worn to give the impression of a smaller waist, and the other was a crimson to give the impression of a well-endowed bum. Not all plastic surgery in the past has been used in vain. As men came home in World War I, they used molds to help create the image of a face so that it would look like they had a full face if they had lost some of their face due to bombs and shell casings hitting them. So not all plastic surgery was done in vain, but in today's world, today's society, it's done more with in vain, more of trying to achieve unrealistic beauty expectations held by the secular world. In the digital world, we are bombarded with images on a constant level to show us what we should be looking like, how our body should be perceived, and how to achieve. How can one find value in the appearance outside of the secular beauty standards? One must find value in their self and love themselves. This comes from our Creator. Our value is in Him and in His image. Another way is to get off social media or limit social media so that one is not bombarded with all the images of how one should perceive what their value is. One must not value what the world thinks, but what they think of themselves and what the Lord thinks of them. Now I'm going to talk about my family, as I'm a Mexican American, and just some of the traditions that we do. Especially at Christmas, we get together. We always get together on Christmas Eve, and we wait until midnight to open up presents. In my family, this started back when my great-grandparents were here, they started in New Mexico, and they would go to midnight mass, and then they would come home after mass and they would open presents because it was the birth of Christ, so it was actually his birthday. And on Christmas night and early Christmas morning, and then they would eat dinner. They would have tamales and pozole, and they would have traditional Christmas cookies, as they're called bizcochitos. And this lasted for about 3 generations. And then when my grandma passed away, things slowly started changing. We took out going to midnight mass, and we still waited until midnight to open presents until about the 4th generation. When they started being born, it really changed to where we no longer celebrated right at midnight. We were celebrating Christmas Eve, and we were still getting together and doing presents, but we were opening presents earlier at 10 p.m. and no longer were we opening presents at midnight. And then we would sit around and play games until probably about midnight. We'd say Merry Christmas, and then we would call it a night and go home. The difference, we would also not celebrate Santa Claus. We would use St. Nicholas, and St. Nicholas was a bishop in the church, and he would go around and he would put toys in children's stockings that were being hung to dry so that it was a way to hide from the Romans that they were still celebrating Christmas. He would also give coins, gold coins, to families that were in need of money for noble marriages, so that he would help those families. And then coal was given, but it was given for children that he knew were suffering from being cold. It was more of a way of helping families out, not necessarily for being naughty, but some kids were not always on their best behavior around this time. This was something that is different from American culture, as in I know that my husband, who is American and Caucasian, his family only celebrates on Christmas Day. So it was a little bit of a different transition for him, having to stay up so late when he first came in, and then getting up early to go to his family the next day, as this wasn't something that he celebrated. The food was different for him too, as we have tamales and pozole, and his family has turkey and ham with like apple pie. And then the way it is also administered to today's culture is that over the years, Christmas has become more secular. Santa Claus is no longer considered a saint. He's considered the jolly big man that lives at the North Pole, who flies around the world and brings toys to all the little kids around the world, and that he is married. As a bishop of the church, St. Nicholas would never have been married. And then this is also that the Christmas season has become something that is more secular, meaning it's more emphasis on presents and spending your money, trying to get the perfect present for whoever is of value in your life. And then I must admit that I've been guilty of this too, but in recent years we've kind of gone back to our family tradition of going to midnight mass, coming home and opening up only one present after midnight, and then waiting until Christmas Day to open up the rest. But we still have our tradition of food, which is the tamales and the pozole and the Christmas cookies.